almost died.
Excellent. And hello, citizens of the internet.
Hello.
I should probably do the thing where I send out the link now. Excellent. Oh no, I was turning the volume up, not down.
You got mail.
What the fuck? What year is it?
What do you mean?
I heard you've got mail.
Oh, that was my phone again. That's my ringtone.
Nice.
Thing.
Okay, yeah, I remember you have told me that before.
Do you have a fun fact?
Yes.
The most fun of facts.
Alrighty, and hello, Mike. Yep, welcome Matt's out.
What are you waiting for, people?
Hello, Kay. Excuse me. Hello, lovely cricket. How are you? So glad y'all could join us.
We're just getting down quick, so
What's that?
what's stop with me? I don't know what to talk about. The ad revenue.
Ad revenue, I don't get none of that.
Yes. In our hearts, we do.
I bet Bill Murray stays at home all day on this day. The jokes people would make wouldn't stop. Yep. We can talk about how the title of the Lovecraft story we're going to read, like many of his, like, sounds like a slur.
You need to sound like a weird name for fig.
Yeah. The Curse of Yig. Switch to your laptop. Alright. The YouTube app is a filthy whore. Well, at least it's not a silly baby.
Serious baby.
Not a silly baby or a spicy pizza. I'm sorry.
In other news, did you hear that Disney no longer owns Squad from Ice Age?
Yeah.
That's nutty. I'm not saying like a pun, like that. I mean, that's crazy. Like, totally bonkers.
Just makes me think of Yggdrasil. Yggdrasil. I quit. And Raptor, you gave us our first quote for the evening.
So, you know, Blonde, because Blonde is cool.
Oh, jeez. I can do this. Alright, so shall we get started?
Buddy.
Either of you there?
I'm here.
Good. Mackenzie?
I've been purposely staying quiet to see how long it would take for someone to notice. Someone mark it down. It took Manny and Raptor over 9 minutes for them to realize I haven't said anything this entire call.
I mean, you said hello.
Sorry then.
I noticed you
Yeah,
were
and
being
then afterwards
silent.
I purposely.
Yeah, I noticed.
And yet you said nothing.
Correct? Something tells me the second and third stories may not be entirely serious. Perhaps.
Mike, I don't know if you've watched this series before.
Welcome
but-
back, Kay. And Kay, just in case you didn't hear my comment before you switched from your phone to your laptop, the YouTube app might be a filthy whore, but at least it's not a silly baby. Just wanted to make sure you heard that one. Back in black. Ha! I get it. Alright, so this is one that I've not actually read before. All I know is about Giant Snake God. And apparently it's for Zelia Bishop.
Is this a lesser known one?
I mean, it's lesser known to me.
It was kind of late, but can I just do dialogue for the story?
What's that?
Can I just do dialogue for the story?
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Mike says he hasn't. This is the series where we make fun of terrible comic artists, yeah? Sneck is lard, that's what she said.
I mean, I know it's mostly because of the way it's drawn, but with all the roots, it looks like a giant lizard rather than a snake.
Yeah.
Like there looks like there's arms, but that's because there's like tree roots and stuff.
Snake tree.
Due to our earlier conversations, Silly Baby is so much worse than it ever could have. Yes, that's true.
I don't get the reference.
It's something that she learned about one of her coworkers that I will not bring up on this call or on the stream.
Well, can I at least know about it later?
Perhaps. If there's a burrito in exchange.
I mean, I don't think it'd be wise to send a burrito from New Jersey to.
DoorDash.
I can Venmo you, and you can go and order yourself from Chipotle.
Venmo.
We could get Speedy Man. He does anything the concept of speed can.
Tree snake, he will slither into the woods.
I like to think this isn't a giant snake, it's a legless lizard. Those are apparently a thing. Robert Irwin taught me that.
Their poses.
So shall we?
Yes. Alright. In 1925, I went into Oklahoma looking for snake lore, and I came out with a fear of snakes that will last me the rest of my life. I admit it is foolish, since there are natural explanations for everything I saw and heard, but it masters me nonetheless. If the old story had been all there was to it, I would not have been so badly shaken. My work as an American Indian ethnologist has hardened me to all kinds of extravagant legendary, and I know that simple white people can beat the Redskins at their own game when it comes to fanciful inventions. But I can't forget what I saw with my own eyes at the insane asylum in Guthrie. I called at the asylum because a few of the oldest settlers told me I would find something important there. Neither Indians nor white men would discuss the snake god legends I had come to trace. The oil bloom newcomers, of course, knew nothing of such matters, and the red man and old pioneers were plainly frightened when I spoke of them. Not more than 6 or 7 people mentioned the asylum, and those who did were careful to talk in whispers. But the whisperers said that Dr. McNeil could show me a very terrible relic and tell me all I wanted to know. He could explain why Yig, the half-human father of serpents, is a shunned and feared object in central Oklahoma, and why old settlers shiver at the secret Indian orgies which make the autumn days and nights hideous with the ceaseless beating of tom-toms in lonely places.
This one didn't age as well.
It was with the scent of a hound on the trail that I went to Guthrie, for I had spent many years collecting data on the evolution of the serpent worship among the Indians. I had always felt, from well-defined undertones of legend and archaeology, that great Quetzalcoatl, benign snake god of the Mexicans, had an older and darker prototype, and during recent months I had well-nigh proved it in a series of researches stretching from Guatemala to the Oklahoma plains. But everything was tantalizing and incomplete, for above the border the cult of the snake was hedged about by fear and furtiveness.
Now it appeared that a new and copious source of data was about to dawn, and I sought the head of the asylum with an eagerness I did not try to cloak. Dr. McNeil was a small, clean-shaven man of somewhat advanced years, and I saw at once from his speech and manner that he was a scholar of no mean attainment in many branches outside of his profession. Grave and doubtful when I first made known my errand, his face grew thoughtful as he carefully scanned my credentials and the letter of introduction which a kindly old ex-Indian agent had given me.
That be him?
Yep.
Okay. So, you've been studying the Yig legend, eh?
He reflected sententiously.
I know that many of our Oklahoma ethnologists have tried to connect it with the Quetzalcoatlus, but I don't think any of them have traced the intermediate steps so well. You've done remarkable work for a man as young as you seem to be, and you certainly deserve all the data we can give. I don't suppose old Major Moore or any of the others told you what it is I have. They don't like to talk about it, and neither do I. It is a very tragic and very horrible, but that is all. I refuse to consider it anything supernatural. There's a story about it that I'll tell you after you see it. A devilish sad story, but one that I won't call magic. It merely shows the potency that belief has over some people. But one that I won't call magic. No, sorry. I'll admit that there are times when I feel a shiver that's more than physical. But in daylight, I set all that down to nerves. I'm not a young fellow anymore, alas. To come to the point, the thing I have is what you might call a victim of Yig's curse. A physically living victim. We don't let the bulk of the nurses see it. Although most of them know it's here, they are just two steady old chaps whom I freed, whom I let it feed it and clean out its quarters. Used to be free. But good old Stevens passed on a few years ago. I suppose I'll have to break in a new group pretty soon, for the thing doesn't seem to age or change much, and we old boys can't live forever. Maybe the ethics of the near future will let us give it a release, but it's hard to tell. Did you see that single ground glass basement window over in the east wing? When you came up the drive, that's where it is. I'll take you there myself. You didn't make any comment. Just look through the movement panels in the door, and thank God the light isn't any stronger. Then I'll tell you the story, or as much as I'll be able to piece together.
We walked downstairs very quietly and did not talk as we threaded the corridors of the seemingly deserted basement. Dr. McNeil unlocked a gray painted steel door, but it was only a bulkhead leading to a further stretch of hallway. At length he paused before a door marked B116, opened a small observation panel which he could use only by standing on tiptoe, and pounded several times upon the paint and metal as if to arouse the occupant, whatever it might be. A faint stench came from the aperture as the doctor unclosed it, and I fancied his pounding elicited a kind of low, hissing response. Finally, he motioned me to replace him at the peephole, and I did so with a causeless and increasing tremor. The barred, ground glass window, close to the earth outside, emitted only a feeble and uncertain pallor, and I had to look into the malodorous den for several seconds before I could see what was crawling and wiggling about on the straw-covered floor, emitting every now and then a weak and vacuous hiss. Then the shadowed outline began to take shape. I perceived that the squirming entity bore some remote resemblance to a human form laid flat on its belly. I clutched at the door handle for support as I tried to keep from fainting.
The moving object was almost of human size and entirely devoid of clothing. It was absolutely hairless, and its tawny-looking backs seemed subtly squamous in the dim, ghoulish light. Around the shoulders it was rather speckled and brownish, and the head was curiously flat. As it looked up to hiss at me, I saw that the beady little black eyes were damnably anthropoid, but I could not bear to study them long. They fastened themselves on me with a horrible persistence, so that I closed the panel gaspingly and left the creature to wriggle about unseen in its matted straw and spectral twilight. I must have reeled a bit, for I saw that the doctor was gently holding my arm as he guided me away. I was stuttering over and over again.
Is that me too?
Yeah.
Okay. But for God's sakes, what is it?
Dr. McNeil told me the story in his private office as I sprawled opposite him in an easy chair. The golden crimson late afternoon changed to the violet of early dusk. But still I sat awed and motionless. I resented every ring of the telephone and every whir of the buzzer, and I could have cursed the nurses and interns whose knocks now and then summoned the doctor briefly to the outer office. Night came, and I was glad my host switched on all the lights. Scientist though I was, my zeal for research was half forgotten amidst such breathless ecstasies of fright as a small boy might feel when whispered witch tales go the rounds of the chimney corner. It seems that Yig, the snake god of the Central Plains tribes, presumably the primal source of the more southerly Quetzalcoatl and Kukulkan, was an odd, half-anthropomorphic devil of highly arbitrary and capricious nature. He was not wholly evil, and was usually quite well disposed toward those who gave proper respect to him and his children, the serpents. But in the autumn he came abnormally ravenous, and had to be driven away by means of suitable rites. That was why the tom-toms in the Pawnee, Wichita, and Caddo country pounded ceaselessly, week in and week out, in August, September, and October, and why the medicine men made strange noises with rattles and whistles curiously like those of the Aztecs and Mayas.
Yeek's chief trait was a relentless devotion to his children, a devotion so great that the Redskins almost feared to protect themselves from the venomous rattlesnakes which thronged the region. Frightful clandestine tales hinted at of his vengeance upon mortals who flouted him or wreaked harm upon his wiggling progeny. His chosen method being to turn his victim, after suitable tortures, to a spotted snake. In the old days of the Indian Territory, the doctor went on, there was not quite so much secrecy about Yig. The Plains tribe, less cautious than the desert nomads and pueblos, talked quite freely of their legends and autumn ceremonies with the first Indian agents, and let considerable of the lore spread out through the neighboring regions of white settlement. The great fear came in the land rush days of '89, when some extraordinary incidents had been rumored, and the rumors sustained by what seemed to be hideously tangible proofs. Indians said that the new white men did not know how to get on with Yig, and afterwards the settlers came to take that theory at face value. Now no old-timer in middle Oklahoma, white or red, could be induced to breathe a word about the snake god except in vague hints. Yet after all, the doctor added with almost needless emphasis, the only truly authenticated horror had been a thing of pitiful tragedy rather than of bewitchment. It was all very material and cruel, even the last phase which had caused so much dispute. Dr. McNeil paused and cleared his throat before getting down to his special story, and I felt a tingling sensation as when a theater curtain rises. The thing had begun when Walker Davis and his wife Audrey left Arkansas to settle in the newly opened public lands in the spring of 1889, and the end had come to the country of the Wichitas, north of the Wichita River in what is the present Cato country. There's a small village called let's go Binger or Binger, what do you think?
Binger.
Binger there now. Is quite productive in these days, since the great oil fields do not come very close.
Walker and Audrey had come from Franklin County in the Ozarks with a canvas-topped wagon, 2 mules, an ancient useless dog called Wolf, and all their household goods. They were typical hill folk, youngish and perhaps a little more ambitious than most, and looked forward to a life of better returns for their hard work than they had had in Arkansas. Both were lean, raw-boned specimens, the man tall, sandy, and gray-eyed, and the woman short and rather dark, with a black straightness of hair suggesting a slight Indian admixture. In general, there was very little of distinction about them, and but for one thing, their annals might not have differed from those of thousands of other pioneers who flocked into the new country at that time. That thing was Walker's almost epileptic fear of snakes, which some laid to prenatal causes, and some said came from a dark prophecy about his end, with which an old Indian squaw had tried to scare him when he was small. Whatever the cause, the effect was marked indeed, for despite strong general courage, the very mention of a snake would cause him to grow faint and pale, while the sight of even a tiny specimen would produce a shock sometimes bordering on a convulsion seizure. The Davises started out early in a year, in the hope of being on their new land for the spring plowing. Travel was slow, for the roads were bad in Arkansas, while in the territory there were great stretches of rolling hills and red, sandy barrens without any roads whatsoever. As the terrain grew flatter, the change from their native mountains depressed them more, perhaps, than they realized. But they found the people at the Indian agencies very affable, while most of the settled Indians seemed friendly and civil. Now and then they encountered a fellow pioneer, with whom crude pleasantries and expressions of amiable rivalry were generally exchanged. Owing to the
Owing,
season... go ahead.
owing to the season, there were not many snakes in evidence, so Walker did not suffer from his special temperamental weakness. In the earlier stages of the journey, too, there were no Indian snake legends to trouble him, for the transplanted tribes from the southeast do not share the wilder beliefs of their western neighbors. As fate would have it, it was a white man in Ocmulgee in the Cree country, who gave the Davises the first hint of Yig's beliefs, a hint which had a curiously fascinating effect on Walker, and caused him to ask questions very freely after that. Before long, Walker's fascination had developed into a bad case of fright. He took the most extraordinary precautions at each of the nightly camps, and always clearing away whatever vegetation he found, and avoiding stony places whenever he could. Every clump of stunted bushes and every cleft in the great slab-like rock seemed to him now to hide malevolent serpents, and every human figure not obviously part of the settlement or emigrant train seemed to him a potential snake god till nearness, and had proved the contrary. Fortunately, no troublesome encounters came at this stage to shake his nerves still further. As they approached the Kickapoo country, they found it harder and harder to avoid camping near rocks. Finally, it was no longer possible, and poor Walker had reduced to the puerile expedient of droning some of the rustic anti-snake charms he had learned in his boyhood. 2 or 3 times a snake was really glimpsed, and these sights did not help the sufferer in his efforts to preserve composure.
On the 22nd evening of the journey, a savage wind made it imperative, for the sake of the mules, to camp in as sheltered a spot as possible, and Audrey persuaded her husband to take advantage of a cliff which rose uncommonly high above the dried bed of a former tributary of this Canadian river. He did not like the rocky cast of the place, but allowed himself to be overruled this once, leading the animals sullenly toward the protecting slope, with which the nature of the ground would not allow the wagon to approach. Audrey, examining the rocks near the wagon, meanwhile noticed a singular sniffing on the part of the feeble old dog. Seizing a rifle, she followed his lead, and presently thanked her stars that she had forestalled Walker in her discovery. For there, snugly rested in the gap between 2 boulders, was a sight it would have done him no good to see. Visibly only one convoluted expanse, but perhaps comprising as many as 3 or 4 separate units, was a mass of lazy wriggling which could not be other than a brood of newborn rattlesnakes. Anxious to save Walker from a trying shock, Audrey did not hesitate to act, but took the gun firmly by the barrel and brought the butt down again and again upon the writhing objects. Her own sense of loathing was great, but it did not amount to a real fear. Finally, she saw that her task was done, and turned to cleanse the improvised bludgeon in the red sand and dried dead grass nearby. She must, she reflected, cover the nest up before Walker got back from tethering the mules. Old Wolf, tottering relic of mixed shepherd and coyote ancestry that he was, had vanished, and she feared he had gone to fetch his master.
Footsteps at that instant proved her fear well-founded. A second more, and Walker had seen everything. Audrey made a move to catch him if he should faint, but he did no more than sway. Then the look of pure fright on his bloodless face turned slowly to something like mingled awe and anger, and he began to upbraid his wife in trembling tones.
God's sake, God, why'd you go and do that for? And you heard all the things they've been telling about the snake devil Yig? You ought to told me, and we move on. Don't you know that's the devil's god's what gets even if he hurts your children? What do you think the Indians all dance and beat the drums in the fall about? This land's under a curse. And I tell you, every night, every so, we would talk to a seance. We've came and said the same. Yig Wu's here, and he comes out every fall for to get his victims and turn them into snakes. Why, Odd, they won't none of them Injuns across the gauge and kill a snake for love or no money. God knows what you done to yourselves, gal. A stopping out a whole boat, brood,
Whole brood.
whole brood of Yig's children. He's get you Sure, sooner or later. Unless
Uh-huh.
I can buy a charm off some of the Indian medicine men, he'll get you, odd. And as sure as there's gods in heaven, you'll come out of the night and turn you into a cold and spotted snake. That sounds less like southern and more like he had a stroke, to be honest.
It's all right. If he comes up again, just to try to read it more slowly.
Okay,
That way you don't get twisted up. Like
I'll
a
try not to
snake.
twist again. Ah, like snake.
All the rest of the journey, Walker kept up the frightened reproofs and prophecies. They crossed the Canadian near Newcastle, and soon afterward met with the first of the real Plains Indians they had seen. A party of blanketed Wichitas, whose leader talked freely under the spell of the whiskey offered him, and taught poor Walker a long-winded protective charm against Yig in exchange for a quart bottle of the same inspiring fluid. By the end of the week, the chosen site in the Wichita country was reached, and the Davises made haste to trace their boundaries and perform the spring plowing before even beginning the construction of a cabin. The region was flat, drearily windy, and sparse of natural vegetation, but promised great fertility under cultivation. Occasional outcroppings of granite diversified a soil of decomposed red sandstone, and here and there a great flat rock would stretch along the surface of the ground like a man-made floor. There seemed to be a very few snakes, or possible dens for them, so Audrey was at last persuaded Walker to build the one-room cabin over a vast, smooth slab of exposed stone. With such a flooring and with a good-sized fireplace, the weather might be defied, though it would soon become evident that the dampness was no salient quality of the district. Logs were hauled in the wagon from the nearest belt of woods, many miles towards the Wichita Mountains.
Walker built his wide-chimneyed cabin and crude barn with the aid of some of the other settlers, though the nearest one was over a mile away. In turn, he helped his helpers at similar house raisings, so that many ties of friendship sprang up between the new neighbors. There was no town worthy the name nearer than El Reno, on the railway 30 miles or more to the northeast, and before many weeks had passed, the people of the section had become very cohesive despite the wilderness of their scattering. The Indians, a few of whom had begun to settle down on ranches, were for the most part harmless, though somewhat quarrelsome when fired by the liquid stimulation which found its way to them despite all government bans. Of all the neighbors, the Davises found Joe and Sally Compton, who likewise hailed from Arkansas, the most helpful and congenial. Sally is still alive, known now as Grandma Compton, and her son Clyde, then an infant in arms, has become one of the leading men of the state. Sally and Audrey used to visit each other often, for their cabins were only 2 miles apart, and in the long spring and summer afternoons they exchanged many a tale of old Arkansas and many a rumor about the new country. Sally was very sympathetic about Walker's weakness regarding snakes, but perhaps did more to aggravate than cure the parallel nervousness which Audrey was acquiring through his incessant praying and prophesizing about the curse of Yig. She was uncommonly full of gruesome snake stories, and produced a direfully strong impression with her acknowledged masterpiece, the tale of a man in Scott County, who had been bitten by a whole horde of rattlers at once, and had swelled so monstrously from poison that his body had finally burst with a pop. Needless to say, Audrey did not repeat this anecdote to her husband, and she implored the Comptons to beware of starting it on the rounds from the countryside. It is to Joe's and Sally's credit that they heeded this plea with the utmost fidelity.
Walker did his corn planting early, and in midsummer improved his time by harvesting a fair crop of the native grass of the region. With the help of Joe Compton, he dug a well which gave a moderate supply of very good water. though he planned to sink an artisan later on. He did not run into many serious snake scares and made his land as inhospitable as possible for wriggling visitors. Every now and then he rode over to the cluster of thatched canonical huts which formed the main village of the Wichitas, and talked long with the old man and shamans about the snake god and how to nullify his wrath. Charms were always ready in exchange for whiskey, but much of the information he got was far from reassuring. Yig was a great god. He was bad medicine. He did not forget things. In the autumn, his children were hungry and wild, and Yig was hungry and wild too. All the tribes made medicine against Yig when the corn harvest came. They gave him some corn and danced in proper regalia to the sound of whistle, rattle, and drum. They kept the drums pounding to drive Yig away, and called down the aid of Tirawa, whose children men are, even as the snakes are Yig's children. It was bad that the squaw of Davis killed the children of Yig. Let Davis say the charms many times when the corn harvest comes. Yig is Yig, and Yig is a great god. By the time the corn harvest did come, Walker had succeeded in getting his wife into a deplorably jumpy state. His prayers and borrowed incantations came to be a nuisance, and when the autumn rites of the Indians began, there was always a distant wind-borne pounding of tom-toms to lend an added background of the sinister. It was maddening to have the muffled clatter always stealing over the wide red plains. Why would it never stop? Day and night, week on week, it was always going in exhaustless relays, as persistently as the red dusty winds that carried it. Audrey loathed it more than her husband did, for he saw in it a compensating element of protection. It was with this sense of a mighty, intangible bulwark against evil that he got in his corn crop and prepared cabin and stable for the coming winter.
The autumn was abnormally warm, and except for the primitive cookery the Davises found scant use for the stone fireplace Walker had built with such care. Something in the unnaturalness of the hot dust clouds preyed on the nerves of all the settlers, but most of all on Audrey's and Walker's. The notions of a hovering snake curse and the weird, endless rhythm of the distant Indian drums, excuse me, formed a bad combination, which any added element of the bizarre went far to render utterly unendurable. Notwithstanding this strain, several festive gatherings were held at one or another of the cabins after the crops were reaped, keeping naively alive in modernity those curious rites of the harvest home which are as old as human agriculture itself. Lafayette Smith, who had come from southern Missouri and had a cabin about 3 miles east of Walker's, was a very passable fiddler, and his tunes did much to make the celebrants forget the monotonous beating of the distant tom-toms. Then Halloween drew near, and the settlers planned another frolic, this time, had they but known it, of a lineage older than even agriculture. The dread witch Sabbath of the primal pre-Aryans, kept alive through ages in the midnight blackness of secret woods, and still hinting at vague terrors under its latter-day mask of comedy and lightness. Halloween was to fall on a Thursday, and the neighbors agreed to gather for their first revel at the Davis cabin. It was on the 31st of October that the warm spell broke. The morning was gray and leaden, and by noon the incessant winds had changed from searingness to rawness. People shivered all the more because they were not prepared for the chill, and Walker Davis' old dog Wolf dragged himself wearily indoors to place beside the hearth. But the distant drums still thumped on, nor were the white citizenry less inclined to pursue their chosen rites. As early as 4 in the afternoon, the wagons began to arrive at the Walkers' cabin, and in the evening, after a memorable barbecue, Lafayette Smith's fiddle inspired a very fair-sized company to great feats of uh, saltatory grotesqueness, In the one good-sized but crowded room, the younger folk indulged in the amiable inanities proper to the season, and now and then old Wolf would howl with doleful and spine-tickling ominousness at some especially spectral strain from Lafayette's squeaky violin, a device he had never heard before. Mostly, though, this battered veteran slept through the merriment, for he was past the age of active interests and lived largely in his dreams. Tom and Jenny Rigby had brought their collie Zeke along, but the canines did not fraternize. Zeke seemed strangely uneasy over something, and nosed around curiously all the evening.
Audrey and Walker meet a fine couple on the floor, and Grandma Compton still likes to recall her impression of their dancing that night. Their worries seemed forgotten for the nonce, and Walker was shaved and trimmed into a surprising degree of spruceness. By 10 o'clock, all hands were healthily tired, and the guests began to depart family by family with many handshakings and bluff assurances of what a fine time everybody had had. Tom and Jenny thought Zeke's eerie howls as he followed them to their wagon were marks of regret at having to go home, though Audrey said it must be the faraway tom-toms which annoyed him, for the distant thumping was surely ghastly enough after the merriment within. The night was bitterly cold, and for the first time Walker had put a great log in the fireplace and banked it with ashes to keep it smoldering till morning. Old Wolf dragged himself with the ruddy glow and lapsed into his customary coma. Audrey and Walker, too tired to think of charms or curses, ticked out 3 minutes. Charms and curses tumbled into the rough pine bed and were asleep before the cheap alarm clock on the mantel had ticked out 3 minutes. And from far away, the rhythmic pounding of those hellish tom-toms still pulsed on the chill night wind. Dr. McNeil paused here and removed his glasses, as if a blurring of the object might make the reminiscent vision clear.
You'll soon appreciate,
He said,
that I had a great deal of difficulty in piecing out all that happened after the guests left. These were times, though at first I was able to make a try at it.
After a moment of silence, he went on with his tale.
Audrey had terrible dreams of Yig, who appeared to her in the guise of Satan as depicted in cheap engravings she had seen. It was, indeed, from an absolute ecstasy of nightmare that she started suddenly awake to find Walker already conscious and sitting up in bed. He seemed to be listening intently to something, and silenced her with a whisper when she began to ask what had roused him.
Oh God,
He breathed.
don't you hear something? A singing and buzzing and rustling? Do you reckon it's the fall crickets?
Certainly there was distinctly audible within the cabin such a sound as he had described. Audrey tried to analyze it, and was impressed with some element at once horrible and familiar, which hovered just outside the rim of her memory. And beyond it all, waking a hideous thought, the monotonous beating of the distant tom-toms came incessantly across the black plains on which a cloudy half-moon had set.
Do you want me to take Audrey?
Yeah.
Walker, suppose it's the curse of Yig.
She could feel him tremble.
No, gal, I don't reckon he comes that way. He's shaping like a man, except you look at him close. That's what Chief Eagle says. And this here's some varmints coming out, in and out the cold. Not crickets. How do I say this?
Calculate.
Oh, that's calculate?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm stupid. Calculate. But some made like 'em. I'd ought to get up and stomp 'em out before they could make much headway or get in at that cupboard.
He rose, felt for the lantern that hung within easy reach, and riled the tin matchbox nailed to the wall beside it. Audrey sat up in bed and watched the flare for the match grow into the steady glow of the lantern. Then, as their eyes began to take in the whole of the room, the crude rafters shook with the frenzy of their simultaneous shriek. For the flat, rocky floor, revealed in the newborn illumination, was one seething, brown-speckled mass of wriggling rattlesnakes, slithering toward the fire, and even now turning their loathsome heads to menace the fright-blasted lantern-bearer.
It was only for an instant that Audrey saw the things. The reptiles were of average size, of uncountable numbers, and apparently of several varieties. And even as she looked, 2 or 3 of them reared their heads as if to strike at Walker. She did not faint. It was Walker's crash to the floor that extinguished the lantern and plunged her into blackness. He had not screamed a second time. Fright had paralyzed him, and he fell as if shot by a silent arrow from no mortal's bow. To Audrey, the entire world seemed to whirl about fantastically, mingling with the night time from which she had started. Voluntary motion of any sort was impossible, for will and the sense of reality had left her. She fell back inertly on her pillow, hoping that she would wake soon. No actual sense of what had happened penetrated her mind for some time. Then, little by little, the suspicion of that she was really awake began to dawn on her, and she was convulsed with a mounting blend of panic and grief which made her long to shriek out despite the inhibiting spell which kept her mute. Walker was gone, and she had not been able to help him. He had died of snakes, just as the old witch woman had predicted when he was a little boy. Poor Wolf had not been able to help either. Probably had not even awakened from his senile stupor. And now the crawling things must be coming for her, writhing closer and closer every moment in the dark, perhaps even now twining slipperily about the bedpost and oozing up over the coarse woolen blankets. Unconsciously, she crept under the cloths and trembled.
It must be the curse of Yig. He had sent his monstrous children on All Hallows Night, and they had taken Walker first. Why was that? Wasn't he innocent enough? Why not come straight for her? Hadn't she killed those little rattlers alone? Then she thought of the curse's form as told by the Indians. She wouldn't be killed, just turned to a spotted snake. Ugh. So she would be like those things she had glimpsed on the floor, those things which Yig had sent to get her and enroll her among their number. She tried to mumble a charm that Walker had taught her, but found she could not utter a single sound. The noisy ticking of the alarm clock sounded above the maddening beat of the distant tom-toms. The snakes were taking a long time. Did they mean to delay on purpose to play on her nerves? Every now and then she thought she felt a steady, insidious pressure on the bedclothes, but each time it turned out to be only the automatic twitchings of her overwrought nerves. The clock ticked on in the dark, and came slowly over her thoughts. The snakes couldn't have taken so long. They couldn't be Yig's messengers after all, but just natural rattlers that were nested below the rock and had been drawn there by the fire. They weren't coming for her, perhaps. Perhaps they had saved themselves on poor Walker. Where were they now? Gone, coiled by the fire, still crawling over the prone corpse of their victim? The clock ticked, and the distant drums throbbed on.
At the thought of her husband's body lying there in the pitch blackness, a thrill of purely physical horror passed over Audrey. That story of Sally Compton's about the man back in Scott County. He, too, had been bitten by a whole bunch of rattlesnakes, and what had happened to him? The poison had rotted the flesh and swelled the whole corpse. And in the end, the bloated thing had burst horribly with a detestable popping noise. Was that what was happening to Walker down there on the rock floor? Instinctively, she felt she had begun to listen for something too terrible even to name herself. The clock ticked on, keeping a kind of mocking, sardonic time with the far-off drumming that the night wind brought. She wished it was a striking clock, so that she could know how long this eldritch vigil must last. She cursed the toughness of fiber that kept her from fainting, and wondered what sort of relief the dawn could bring after all. Probably neighbors would pass. No doubt somebody would call. Would they find her still sane? Was she still sane now? Morbidly listening, Audrey all at once became aware of something which she had to verify with every effort of her will before she could believe it, and which, once verified, she did not know whether to welcome or dread. The distant beating of the Indian tom-toms had ceased. They had always maddened her, but had not Walker regarded them as a bulwark against nameless evil from outside the universe? What were some of those things he had repeated to her in whispers after talking with Grey Eagle and the Wichita medicine men?
She did not relish this new and sudden silence after all. There was something sinister about it. The loud ticking clock seemed abnormal in its new loneliness. Capable at last of conscious motion, she took the covers from her face and looked into the darkness toward the window. It must have cleared after the moon set, for she saw the square aperture distinctly against the background of stars. Then, without warning, came that shocking, unutterable sound, that dull, putrid pop of cleft skin and escaping poison in the dark. God, Sally's story, that obscene stench, and this gnawing, clawing silence. It was too much. Vaughns of muteness snapped, and the black night waxed reverberant with Audrey's screams of stark, unbridled frenzy. Consciousness did not pass away with the shock. How merciful if only it had. Amidst the echoes of her shrieking, Audrey still saw the star-sprinkled square of window ahead, and heard the doom-boding ticking of the frightful clock. Did she hear another sound? Was that square window still a perfect square? She was in no condition to weigh the evidence of her senses or distinguish between fact and hallucination.
No, that window was not a perfect square. Something had encroached on the lower edge. Nor was the ticking of the clock the only sound in the room. There was, beyond dispute, a heavy breathing neither her own nor poor Wolf's. Wolf slept very silently, and his wakeful wheezing was unmistakable. Then Audrey saw against the stars the black, demonic silhouette of something anthropoid, the undulant bulk of a gigantic head and shoulders fumbling slowly towards her. I'm not going to scream like that because I can't get the same effect. Go away! Go away! Go away, snake devil! Go away, Yig! I didn't mean to kill him! I was feared he'd be scared of him! Don't, Yig, don't! I didn't go to hurt your children! Don't come nigh me! Don't change me into no spotted snake! But the half-formless head and shoulders only lurched onward toward the bed, very silently. Everything snapped at once inside Audrey's head, and in a second she had turned from a cowering child into a raging madwoman. She knew where the axe was, hung against the wall on those pegs near the lantern. It was within easy reach, and she could find it in the dark. Before she was conscious of anything further, it was in her hands, and she was creeping toward the foot of the bed, toward the monstrous head and shoulders that every moment groped their way nearer. Had there been any light, that look on her face would have not been pleasant to see. Take that, you! And that! And that! And that!
She was laughing shrilly now, and her cackles mounted higher as she saw that the starlight beyond the windows was yielding to the dim prophetic pallor of coming dawn. Dr. McNeil wiped the perspiration from his forehead and put on his glasses again. I waited for him to resume, and as he kept silent, I spoke softly.
You want to be a Manny?
Sure. She lived. She was found. Was it ever explained? The doctor cleared his throat.
Yes. She lived. In a way. And it was explained. I told you. There was no bewitchment. Only cruel, merciful horror.
It was Sally Compton who had made the discovery. She had ridden over to the Davis cabin the next afternoon to talk over the party with Audrey, and had seen no smoke from the chimney. That was queer. It had turned very warm again, yet Audrey was usually cooking something at that hour. The mules were making hungry-sounding noises in their barn, and there was no sign of old Wolf sunning himself in the accustomed spot by the door. Altogether, Sally did not like the look of the place, so was very timid and hesitant as she dismounted and knocked. She got no answer, but waited some time before trying the crude door of split logs. The lock, it appeared, was unfastened, and she slowly pushed her way in. Then, perceiving what was there, she reeled back, gasped, and clung to the jamb to preserve her balance.
A terrible odor had welled out as she opened the door, but that was not what had stunned her. It was what she had seen. For within that shadowy cabin, monstrous things had happened, and 3 shocking objects remained on the floor to awe and baffle the beholder. Near the burnt-out fireplace was the great dog, purple decay on the skin left bare by mange and old age, and the whole carcass burst by the puffing effect of rattlesnake poison. It must have been bitten by a veritable legion of the reptiles. To the right of the door was the axe-hacked remnant of what had been a man, clad in a nightshirt, and with the shattered bulk of a lantern clenched in one hand. He was totally free of any sign of snake bite. Near him lay the ensanguined axe, carelessly discarded. And wiggling flat on the floor was a loathsome, vacant-eyed thing that had been a woman, but was now only a mute, mad caricature. All this thing could do was hiss and hiss and hiss.
Both the doctor and I were brushing cold drops from our foreheads by this time. He poured something from a flask on his desk, took a nip, and handed another glass to me. I could only suggest tremulously and stupidly.
Walker. No. The main guy.
Yeah.
I thought that was you.
No, that's you.
No, I'm the doctor.
Oh. So Walker had only fainted that first time. The screams roused him and the axe did the rest.
Yes.
Dr. McNeil's voice was low.
But he met his death from snakes just the same. It was fear working in 2 ways. It made him faint, and made him fill his wife with wild stories that caused her to strike out when she thought she saw the snake devil.
I thought for a moment. And Audrey, wasn't it queer how the curse of Yig seemed to work itself out on her? I suppose the impression of hissing snakes had been fairly ground into her.
Yes. There were lucid spells at first, but they got to be fewer and fewer. Her hair came white at the roots as it grew, and they began to fill out. The skin grew blotchy, and when she died,
I interrupted with a start. Died? Then what was that thing downstairs?
that is what was born 2 3/4 of a year afterwards. There were more of them. 2 were even worse. But this one is the only one. that lived. Yes, but I think it's probably avoided if you got a Kit Kat bar. Because
Yeah.
as they say, you're not yourself when you have a Kit Kat bar.
That's
Yeah,
not how that's not how the saying goes, Raptor.
I didn't much
It's
care for
Snickers.
that one.
It's Snickers, and it's you're not you when you're hungry.
Battery low.
Meh. Close enough.
Man, you're abnormally silent.
Charging battery.
I already said I didn't much care for this one.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
okay. It was different.
Cool ideas, but to me, it wasn't interesting. I give it a 6 out of 10
Fair.
from IGN.
And Kenzie, Mike is correct. Please say Snickers.
I'll agree with Raptor. I'd say 6 out of 10 too. Didn't age as well as certain others where at least Lovecraft is able to at least keep out his personal feelings regarding other people.
Yeah, I don't really care about that at this point. We all know that stuff's gonna be in there.
Oh, like I know, like everyone knows that Lovecraft, like what Lovecraft was like in his personal life, but this one makes it a little more obvious with regards to Native Americans.
Kenzie gamer moment. Yes, indeed. I don't like snakes, so I'd rather not be in that cabin, I tell you what. I killed my husband because I
God dang
mistook
it,
him for a
Bobby.
snake demon. I've heard worse true crime excuses, to be honest.
Oh, gosh dang it, Bobby. Did you kill the snakes? I told you not to do that, Bobby.
Alright, so let's move right on to Buttercup.avi.
So I suggested this one for the beginning only because it made me laugh.
Alright. One
tell
night,
ya.
quite a while ago, I was invited to dinner at a friend's house, who happened to be the nephew of Craig McCracken. Oh, fuck off!
Convenience!
The nephew of Craig McCracken.
Hey,
I knew
guys.
you'd get a kick out of it.
God damn
My
you,
dad-
Kay. You traitor. But have fun. I'm glad you could join us.
Bye, Kay. Have a good night.
Bye, Kay. But guys, my dad works for Nintendo. He has Super Mario 64 too on his mantelpiece. It's real, I tell you.
I believe you. Alright, who happened to be the nephew of Craig McCracken? I can't say that with a straight voice. The creator of Powerpuff Girls. The party was pleasant, and I was in for a surprise when Mr. McCracken himself was one of the guests. Oh, go fuck yourself.
Convenient. I just happened to be at a party rubbing shoulders with one of the creators of one of the quintessential childhood TV shows.
He wasn't an intern at Nickelodeon Studios? 11 out of 10, very original. It's probably going to be better than the leaked CW live-action Powerpuff Girls. Nothing is that bad. Oh wait, as a teenage girl. Well, since I've been watching Venture Brothers, I'll try and go for a Dr. Girlfriend voice here.
Whoa, wait. So, teenager. So, Craig McCracken's just chilling at what is presumably a high school party.
No, it's dinner at the friend's house.
Still. Because she also called it a party. The party was pleasant, and it's like, I'm just saying.
He wasn't invited, he just came to do some McCrack in the bathroom. Go to pun jail. Right. As a teenage girl, I was absolutely obsessed with the show. I would hog the TV for the premiere of every episode, and yell at my younger brothers if they so much as said a word before the commercial break.
Why are you reading it like that?
Dr. Girlfriend,
Dr.
since it said
Girlfriend.
as a teenage girl. Being a somewhat
Okay.
moody, spunky teen, Buttercup was always my favorite of the three girls. I
Oh,
loved
so
How
it's saying
quirky.
that she liked Powerpuff Girls as a teenager. Okay. It did not establish that well.
I loved her sarcasm and her edginess.
Ugh.
Okay, I could just see
Very quirky.
the freaking like hot topic that threw up all over this woman. And yet with all like the like goth punk stuff, there's like Hello Kitty armbands and shit.
Yep, that's
Because she's
usually
quirky.
how it goes.
Upon
She's
meeting
wacky.
upon meeting Mr. McCracken, I told him
go
what a big
fuck
fan I
yourself.
was.
You did not.
I told him what a big fan I was, and he just rolled his eyes and ignored me because he heard this every day of his life. And I was ecstatic to meet him, but he seemed very uninterested and was speaking in a vague, rushed tone, no matter what we were speaking of. Okay, so I called that one. I suppose
Hang
it was
on.
because of all the show's fans could be quite annoying, so I backed off. No, it was just that, because you were such a regular shopper at Hot Topic, he also noticed your lack of bathing and hygiene.
Also, what a fucking coinky dink it is. Oh, Greg McCracken just happened to be at his dinner, but no mention of his wife,
Yeah. Oh god,
who is also a big animator.
And having read so many creepypastas, that has me worried. Alright.
What do you mean?
Is this gonna turn into, like, some horror slash fic? Like, authoring Craig
No. It's
McCracken?
not that.
Okay, thank god.
I just think this person's an idiot who like only just like looked up, okay, who made Powerpuff Girls without actually looking in and knowing who Craig McCracken is, that he's married to Lauren Faust and stuff like that.
Somewhere a bit
She
later into the
just
night.
needed a very convenient explanation for something.
Somewhere a bit later into the night, Mr. McCracken left hurriedly, not noticing that he had left a small envelope with a single disc inside.
How original!
Alright, you two have fun finishing this.
Okie doke.
I looked around quickly before taking
Hey.
the disc, thinking of the possibility of this being another cartoon invented by the genius behind the Powerpuff Girls. You are just like picturing yourself like licking his asshole while you write this, aren't you?
This person, well, no, because this person has no idea anything else he's worked on, hasn't he? Or hasn't she? Like, you do realize that he's worked on a lot more than just the Powerpuff Girls, right? Foster's. He's worked on. Okay, I have it pulled up. Like he's done. He's not like the creator or lead animator, but he's done stuff on Dexter's Lab, and did he work? Like I think. Did he work on Samurai Jack? I know he wasn't the creator or anything, but I thought he worked on it.
I don't know.
I'm looking at it. No, he didn't. But yeah, like he was a big storyboard creator for a lot of other shows, which includes like even present day ones. I've never seen Wander Over Yonder. I know that's very popular or was very popular. He created that.
I'm pretty sure you just made that up.
What, Raptor? You're cutting out a little bit, Raptor.
Wanda.
Yeah, what about it?
Don't forget to be trolling.
You two are
Sorry,
trolling
but I
me.
can't hear you.
Don't, Raptor, are you there? Don't leave me. I can't do
Yeah,
this
I'm
without
here.
you. Oh, thank God.
I'm here. And I was Wanda wasn't good.
You gotta fix your mic a little, bud.
Yeah, I must have.
No, you still gotta. You're a
No.
bit warbly.
Now you sound like Dr. Doom.
Oh.
Okay, you're good.
Can you
Okay,
just like yell Richards?
Richards.
Yes.
So what were you saying, Raptor?
Okay, about Wonder Over Yonder.
Yeah, what about it?
What were you saying about? What was man saying about it?
Do you know about it? Like, I've heard of it, but I've never
yeah.
watched it.
I've watched it a few times.
Any good?
I think it's really good. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he definitely also worked on Gaslight.
What I was gonna say is that I have returned with some tasty foods.
Nice.
I got pork. I got
Yeah.
potatoes.
Oh yeah. But
I
yeah,
don't know what fun things. Where was I?
that was 3 paragraphs. So one of you take over.
I got it. After the party was over, I rushed home to see what this mysterious disc had in store for me.
Oh wait, what was it time for?
You left it. You just stole something.
Was it time for pepperoni hot pockets and a hot fudge sundae?
We make fun, but that's like my typical Friday night.
Is the molten contents of the hot pocket going to fall on your junk?
But like, I'm not getting over this. See what this mysterious disc had in store. You motherfucker! That is stolen property.
As they say, it's not technically stealing if they don't know it's stolen.
Mike says I'm picturing Raptor turning dials on his chest to make his mic work like Wat Timbre.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you can count so you. I thought you could count.
What's the reference?
Space battles.
Hang on.
I don't even think I've heard of that.
Star Wars.
Let me.
I still don't get the reference. Is this from one of the shows?
No, it was in the Clones movie. He was one of the Separatist Council.
I haven't seen that one.
Turns.
Army.
Okay, so with my hands trembling, why?
Oh wait, I'm sorry, but Bagel has a good point here. She is following the rule of finders keepers, losers weepers.
I mean, I can't argue with playground logic.
I mean, this is like Pierre Serafinowicz in Parks and Recreation. Yes, that is the rule.
Yes. But so, with my hands trembling, I lifted the shiny disc from the envelope, and my heart fluttered with delight when I saw that the DVD had Buttercup.avi written on it in purple Sharpie. With hands trembling,
What?
like, I'm not to like borrow from one of Matt's observations from one of the stories they've read over on the Michael O'Raw channel, but what a spaz.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Powerpuff Girls a lot too as a kid, but if I ever if I ever had the opportunity to view something exclusive for the show made by Craig McCracken, I wouldn't be trembling. Jesus Christ.
She's excited. Hasn't she read like other internet stories where character name, but whatever file name leads to something very spooky? She should feel more aware of that. Like this, like internet horror 101. Well, not horror, but you get the idea.
Buttercup, as I said before, had always been my favorite. We know we're not goldfish.
That was literally 2 paragraphs back.
and I was incredibly anxious to watch this episode that, for one reason or another, had not been released, but left next to a chair at a dinner party. Did you ever think that maybe this was something new then? Dumbass? I put the disc into my DVD player and it started instantly. No title screen, no credits, nothing. The episode started off oddly. Ooh, how original. The colors had been dulled down to an almost sepia tone, and the house looked all wrong. Again, so original. The windows were busted out and the walls looked dirty. Wasn't this already kind of an episode? Like, whatever you come up with, it's not nearly going to be as fucked up as that one episode where the girls are racing home and, like, so fast that they end up time traveling into, like, a dystopian future where they weren't there to protect all of Townsville from him.
Yep.
That episode was so fucked.
Although Mike says, ah yes, purple, the color of Buttercup, how appropriate. It was not the color of Buttercup, but it was the color of Bunny.
That episode destroyed me. It was so sad. Also, it's all the purple is the color of all their eyelids, which either they're wearing makeup or that's naturally their skin of their eyelids, which is very unsettling.
You know what else is sad?
Yes.
What?
It's implied in Samurai Jack that Aku defeated the Powerpuff Girls.
No.
Because
No.
one of the scenes that shows as Jack is wandering through what is to him the new future is the Townsville Mall.
Lies.
Big sad.
They're out there somewhere. In the is the revamped Samurai Jack still going?
It ended.
It did end.
There
Okay.
There was a revamp?
Yeah, it was like an Adult Swim revamp.
Oh no, that was season 5.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, season 5 ended in, I think it was 2017.
I'm out of the loop. Anyway, either way, I'm sure there was an unplanned episode for when he comes across them in, like, cryostasis or something. They're out there.
Mm.
Like Bigfoot.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Like
Now I'm picturing Bunny, like, walking like Bigfoot in the fucking video clip that everyone shows for Bigfoot.
Okay, I'm so drawing that later. I'm not kidding. That's actually a really funny image.
Either that or Fuzzy Lumpkins.
No, she's walking like that, and then the background, the far background, you just see Fuzzy like aiming his gun.
Get off of my property, Bigfoot! Bunny,
Oh, I'm drawing this later.
Bunny trespassing?
Oh, God. There were small reddish-brown footprints going up the wall to the middle upstairs window. Confused and creeped out, I continued watching. And again, just why is everyone in creepypastas just an enormous pussy? Okay. The camera zoomed into the house, which looked even worse than the outside. Professor Utonium was sitting on the floor, sobbing. He looked up into the camera. His eye... Is that even, like, the correct thing? Like, I know this is a nitpick, but, like, this isn't live action. There's no camera, really.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So it's like, just say he broke the fourth wall by, like, looking at what should be at the audience or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, here's something totally original and funky. His eyes looking too realistic for even the most advanced animation at the time.
Ooh.
And had this horrid pained expression on his usually smiling face.
Buttercup, what have you done? What have you done to your sisters? Why? Why? Why?
He sounded genuinely like someone that had lost everything. and my heart hurt for him. He's not real!
He's basically a drawing. Made to look real.
Behind him sat, oh, this is fun, sat the corpses of Blossom and Bubbles, horribly mangled.
Oh,
how so original.
Let's
Blossom
just
was
let's just skip
Alright,
to
here, I'll read.
Disturbed.
Alright, just there's injuries, photorealistic blood is dripping from them. How original.
Isn't that scary, guys? Like, the blood was real.
What if he went atop the fourth wall? God damn it, Peggle. He would probably have some mongoloid telling him about his fetish for the green M&M.
And just how fucking society is crumbling because she was given sneakers.
Should have respected the Powerpuff Girls.
I'll read this one last line because again it just emphasizes just
Yeah,
people being enormous pussy. Disturbed more than I had been in my entire life, maybe. I'd
maybe.
begun to feel...
So you're not even sure? What the fuck are you talking about?
I always felt like I was repressing some memories from my childhood.
Oh great, now it's ripping off Silent Hill 2!
No, that's not what's written. But I can only speculate as to why that maybe is in there.
Maybe. God damn it!
Disturbed more than I had ever been in my entire life, maybe. I began to feel sick to my stomach, but I knew I had to keep watching. Why?
Oh.
I knew I had to keep watching because Craig McCracken was right behind me with a gun to my head.
Oh, I need to find a picture of cute little kittens and staple it to my forehead.
I mean, I can... You remember when, we decided we needed to take a break from, Skim, so we just kept sharing pictures of, guinea pigs in costumes?
Yeah.
I can do that for a few minutes.
Let's just get this over with. I think I burst a blood vessel in my eye.
Can I do it afterwards?
Yeah, sure.
Yay! The camera... There's no camera, just say the scene! The camera then cuts to Buttercup, whose eyes were also very realistic. Oh, so original, like Professor Utonium. She had an unusually heartless, bitter look in those all too realistic green eyes and a twisted smile on her face. So when they say realistic, because, even the show emphasizes just how unnaturally large the Powerpuff Girls' eyes are.
Yeah.
So, are they just all still that huge? Just, big green eyes that are just fucking giants? Taking up 2/3 of her face?
Yeah. Welcome back, Cricket. Love how these creepypasta fuckers are always forced to watch this shit for no reason. Yeah, that's why I'm getting so angry right now. That is my most hated thing. But I had to keep watching. No, you fucking didn't. You mouth-breathing, window-licking sack of shit.
DVD players have the eject button for a reason.
But I have to watch it. How about I might be able to write my scary story for internet points?
Just get those two guys to finish fixing your VCR so you can go back to watching your Night Court tape.
Alright, where was? She was stained with blood from head to toe. Really? No mention of it being realistic? She tilted her head up.
She doesn't have toes or fingers.
She tilted her head up very slowly. Then a maniacal laughter left her mouth, ringing throughout the room and my mind. Yes, because E.G. Daly's voice is, I'm sure, just bone-chilling. It's literally, it would be like she said if Tommy Pickles was laughing maniacally, because it's the same voice actor.
Tommy Pickles, except she's Pinhead.
God damn it, you guys. Stop giving me stuff I need to draw later.
We have such sights to show you, Angelica. To his credit, Rich
Oh, that
Evans knows how to
needs
stop
to be a
washing
YouTube
things.
poop. Someone make it happen.
And yes, Mike, you are correct about Rich Evans, but as someone in the comments said, Rich is a lot smarter than he looks, acts, and sounds. They have power buttons and a cord you can yank out of the socket. Yeah, exactly. Tommy Pinkles.
Didn't you see it coming, Professor? I'm sure all our adoring fans did. No, most of your adoring fans just assume you're a lesbian.
What are you talking about? Saw what coming?
She spat, sounding disgusted at the words adoring fans. They were so annoying with their constant happiness, their love for always being in the spotlight, always being nice and good and perfect. Are you talking wait, is she talking about Blossom or Bubbles or the fans?
I don't know. See, I was going to say at least the story is, like, written properly, but now it's just, like, becoming confusing and messy.
Like, it's still properly, like, in terms of, like grammar-wise, like, on the technical level, yeah. But this is a clunky sentence in that I'm assuming they is referring to Blossom and Bubbles, but by the fact that, like, it comes right off of the fact that she is disgusted by adoring fans, it sounds as if she's referring to fans.
Yeah. I'm not Tommy! Oh, that was a terrifying moment.
Yeah, never do that again, please.
Maybe the story
In
was
In
written
fact, I
because
will pay you to never do that again.
Okay, go ahead.
maybe the story was written because the author met Craig McCracken in real life, and the interaction didn't go down well. So this is like a big like hate story thing to him. Like, yeah, fuck you, Craig McCracken. Why didn't you like my crayon drawing of Mojo Jojo and him going on a go-kart and adventure? You're
Okay,
so mean.
I thought you were gonna reference the the one anime voice actor who, like, people got mad at for not approving, like, a very specific type of fan art.
Yeah, the underage yaoi picture. The underage incestuous yaoi.
Never that.
You
may
took
have,
it a very wholesome route, Raptor.
Yes, I may be immature, but I'm not that depraved.
Here's the thing. Like, no, I'll even, like, take it a step further. She's mad because completely out of Craig McCracken's control, like, she's at Comic-Con or something, and she was, like, waiting for, like, in the panel to, like, get his autograph. And through no fault of his own, time ran out. He had to be, like, taken somewhere else, and she couldn't even get her autograph, and she blames him for it.
It's exactly that.
It's like, it is that scene from The Fanatic. He's leaving! Is he gonna sign?
This story's McCracking me up.
Boo.
That's funny.
Alright, always being so. I hate it! For years it disgusted me, but not anymore, Professor! Not anymore! Professor Utonium continued sobbing, and the horrid sound got louder and louder until a green streak with a silver glint flew across the screen. The professor's disembodied head then flew at the camera. There's no camera! His eyes staring directly at me for the remainder of the video before cutting to black. Thinking it was over, I went to turn off the TV, but I stopped when I heard the sounds of screaming and singing. Blossom and Bubbles' screams were quiet, as Buttercup's voice was singing loudly. Oh yeah, this is so ominous. Yeah, I'm not singing this. Hush, little babies, don't say a word. Mama's gonna kill you all and make you burn.
Let me sing it in the Dr. Girlfriend voice.
Oh god.
Hush, little babies, don't say a word. Mama's gonna kill you and make you burn. And
Come on,
if
you can do it.
those
Keep it straight.
corpses just don't burn, Mama's gonna bury you beneath the ferns.
Oh, that was a reach, and you didn't even spell it right.
Ferns. The ferns. Ferns!
Let me just point out, ferns is not a hard word to spell. Ferns. And
I will say,
you spelled it Furns. Like, we were pretty good. We were pretty nice up until then, but you really just solidified that you are, in fact, an idiot.
there's a musical group called Fern, spelled that way. So I guess she's gonna bury them under that. It's weird, but still.
Though the words were cheesy, the sound of Buttercup singing and the eyes of her and the professor still haunt my dreams. And no comments. What do you fucking know?
Okay, guys, I know this may seem like a controversial, a very hot take, but if I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think that story was really good. It really blew my expectations.
Yeah, that was dumb. I literally didn't even read the rest, and Manny, I'm sorry, like, I know you are just, like, one just angry rant away from, like, bursting a blood vessel in your eye. I didn't read the whole thing. I literally just read one night quite a while ago. I was invited to a dinner at a friend's house who happened to be the nephew of Greg McCracken, and I was like, yep. I hope you're not mad at me.
Check screen.
What?
Check the stream. The screen.
Yes. Mike, Kenzie, we were pretty nice up till now, Manny earlier. Mouth breathing, window licking.
I just left a comment on the story. Oh, thank you, Bagel.
Oh, you left a comment. Manny,
What?
you could have been a bit more eloquent.
What do you mean?
That was Bagel. That was a comment.
Yeah, Bagel left the comment, not me.
Oh, Bagel left the comment. I thought it was because you were telling me to look at it. I mean, it's on the Trollpasta wiki, so at least no one's expecting anyone to,
More like shit cup 10 out of 10.
at
And
least
hello,
no
Cam.
one's expecting the comments to be nice. Bagel. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, Manny.
3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering Reginald Bill Johnson? Okay.
I just don't know if Family Matters is streaming somewhere.
HBO Max.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yep. Alright, so let's just move on to Bart Sells His Soul, the original version.
The version.
Yeah, because we were all clamoring for the improved version, apparently, or some shit.
And we'll just do one paragraph each since this one is so short.
It is very short.
Also, imagine missing 90% of the stream because the first combat session against wolves almost ended with a TPK. Couldn't be me. Against wolves? I gotta say, Cam, I'm a little disappointed. 2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I like good pastas and I like good trees. Alright, my brain hurts after reading that. Thank you, Mike.
What, it already didn't after what we just read?
It had actually gone numb. But now it just like surged in pain. Alright, Bart Sells His Soul. original version. Back in 1995. Well, you see, in 1989, there was this movie called The Wizard. Back in 1995, an episode of The Simpsons called Bart Sells His Soul first aired on the Fox network on October the 8th. Thank you for the pointless details. However, 4 years later, a strange version, which I can only describe as a prototype, aired on a Saturday around 6 a.m. Oh, what? You don't have the exact date for that one. Excuse me.
Okay, hang on. Bart Sells His Soul, original version, described as prototype. It did 4 years later.
I'm sorry, Raptor, you're cutting out. All I heard you say was hang, so I'll just go do that.
No,
Jesus,
don't do that.
Manny.
Don't do that. But anyway, Bart Sells His Soul, original version, described prototype, was released 4 years later after the original version.
You were doing well, like, after you said Bart sells his soul originally, and then it started to go again.
Oh, hang on. Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Bart Sells His Soul, original version. Said original version
God
aired
damn
4 years later
it!
after-
You start
but-
out normal, and then you get warbly.
Original version aired 4 years later. Okay, look. Could continue.
Alright, try now.
Mike wanted the bootleg version. They rolled 7. Oh. Yeah, another Simpsons one. Yeah, I'm sorry this one's so short though, Cricket. I hope you enjoy anyway. Yeah,
I mean, the fact that we were able to read two short, like, the good thing about reading short ones is that we can fit in a few rather than just one really long one, because sometimes when they're really bad, like really long ones are really bad,
yeah.
we start to kind of lose it.
Alright, I was up early that morning because I was going on a vacation and was channel surfing when I came across the episode. My dad was very angry because I was ignoring his request to help him load up the car for the vacation.
In true Simpsons fashion, he began to choke me for it.
And then I grabbed the phone because we still have a landline with a cord, and I started bashing it against his head until we both eventually tired out and passed out.
My mom called the cops on both of us.
I was shocked to see an episode of The Simpsons starting rather than Saturday morning cartoons.
Wrong then.
Yeah, there should be a comma. As The Simpsons isn't exactly a kids show. My first thought
Saturday
was
morning
that
cartoons are basically dead.
What was that?
Saturday morning cartoons are basically dead at this point.
Yeah.
You know, Nickelodeon and all.
My first thought was that was some god damn it. Was some sort of commercial, but surely enough it started playing like a regular episode. How do you make that mistake? It always starts with the theme song. The army of the Raptor Union is at your disposal, Count.
I just looked up what wiki we're on. At first, I thought we were on the Creepypasta wiki. But no.
Oh, this is
Geoshia's
yeah,
lost
Geoshays.
episode. What?
Geoshays.
Whatever. I've assumed I was reading it like someone. I was reading it assuming that whatever this name is a weeb. Lost Episodes Wiki. We might have to do a little bit exploring after we finish reading this, gentlemen.
Raptor, didn't we have our Lost Episode Palooza?
Oh yeah, we had that. And all the episodes on that Palooza came from Geoshi's. Let me tell you, this website here is a gold mine of lost episodes.
Yeah.
Warbling a little bit
Like-
there again, bud.
Are you saying the short ones are easier to fit in? Sounds a bit rude. Sounds a bit like
Dick!
bum.
That is.
Kenzie, you make sure you quote the great Hugh Laurie properly.
But it didn't sound like bum this time.
Yes, it did.
We were implicitly alluding to dicks.
Bum means anal sex.
It always is
I
bum.
know.
I'm just waiting for one of you to quote me for that one.
Honestly, it's too easy. I think we should just let that one slide.
I mean, if you get some lube, it'll slide nice and easy.
Lube.
Based on what was happening, it became evident it was Bart sells his soul, but it quickly takes a different turn.
Okay,
Ooh.
I'm not gonna harp on this, but like Cobe, I have to at least point out fucking tense swap.
Yeah. Honestly, like, it's kind of a good thing you didn't pick the other one I suggested for tonight, because Raptor suggested this one, guys. So one for me, one for Raptor. And before I saw that Raptor suggested this, I had picked up another Powerpuff Girls creepypasta, and the 10 swaps are so bad.
I also saw Japanese characters in it.
Yeah. Yes, it had.
Bum means anal sex, Manny 2022, censored for the YouTube gods.
Thank you, Mike.
And then Cam just goes full non-censored.
Mike, our non-existent monetization thanks you.
I only need 935 more subscribers.
We really gotta start whoring ourselves out here. Anyway.
No, because whores aren't people.
Rather than the scene, again, wrong then, playing where Bart sells his soul to Milhouse, it cuts to a scene with a very different Bart who's suddenly become very, very religious and starts arguing with Milhouse. Oh, God, commas, where are you? It starts with them talking about getting a squishy from the Quickie Mart, but neither of them have any money on them, which is why Milhouse suggests Bart steals 2 squishies from the store. Bart, very out of character, immediately says no, say all in caps, mind you, saying it would be wrong. But Milhouse pops in how... Okay, let me try it again. But Milhouse pops in how who cares it doesn't matter, and it eventually comes out how Milhouse thinks there is no God and that Jesus sucks.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Milhouse
That
is
is a sentence.
Yeah, despite your pause and review, no, it's still retarded.
I really just thought I might have been having a stroke there.
When swingers go camping, they don't put keys in the bowl, they just do tense swaps. Might go to pun jail.
I hate that. I hate that almost as much as I hated the sentence I just read.
But no, we can say anal sex in chat. I wanted the quote to be as accurate as possible. Thank you, Cam. I guess.
So can I read that sentence one more time just because the ending makes me laugh?
Yep, and then after that, you're up, wrapped tambour.
Okay.
So let's just get another taste of that. Milhouse the Ritter. God damn it, Raptor. Okay. I need to take a deep breath again, because again, no commas, no sentence breaks. But Milhouse pops in how who cares it doesn't matter, and it eventually comes out how Milhouse thinks there is no God and that Jesus sucks. All right, Raptor, you take it away.
Okay. This immediately starts getting violent between the two friends.
Oh no.
They start arguing, and it's more than just a petty argument between friends.
Okay, well, who
Again,
cares?
there should be an apostrophe in it, but
Yeah.
there isn't one.
But I mean, why is this acting like that's anything unusual? Like, there have been several times where Bart and Milhouse have started fist fighting with each other.
But this is
Bart
Manny.
gets
No,
choked
religious
out
Bart
by
versus
his
atheist
father as a
Milhouse.
running gag.
Yeah.
How is a violent argument between him and Milhouse any less shocking or any more shocking?
Tones of their voices. It's obvious they sound like they hate one another.
You're getting
It's
warbly
hard to
again,
see them
buddy.
fight. Okay. It was very disheartening to see them fight like this. They both start yelling. It's not as two back at each other in an immature yet psychopathic manner. So it's Twitter. It's big like a Twitter argument, right?
Yes, but seriously, again, like, this is just something that's happened between them many, many times.
Oh my God, Raptor, just please read the rest of that sentence.
Gladly. Until Milhouse's head explodes.
Naturally.
I'm sorry, what?
Scope.
Wait, can I just reread that sentence real quick again, Raptor? Because
Yes.
it was very disheartening to see them fighting like this. Fighting like this, they both start yelling "is not, is to" back at each other in an immature yet psychotic manner. Okay, first of all, you cannot make "is not, is to" psychotic. Second, "is not, is to" is in under the same quotations, so it makes it sound as if one is just constantly saying "is not, is to." Third, psychotic manner until, comma, literally the only comma that exists in this entire creepypasta, and it's used wrong.
Yep. Alright, if he thinks there's no God, why does he think there's a Jesus? How can he suck if he didn't exist? I don't think this person's ever seen an episode of Simpsons. Yeah.
Well, I think, and I hate to be like the well actually guy, is that there are plenty of atheists who think that yes, Jesus was a person, but that
Yeah,
he was not the son of God because there is no God. He was just a guy that said he was the son of God and everyone worshipped him as if he was God.
So,
Anyway,
Raptor, can you carry on, please?
But yeah, Milhouse's head explodes. Blood, brains, skull fragments, and blood that is everywhere. Bart immediately starts crying in an extremely loud and hysterical manner. He turns over just like his headless friend.
still warbling, buddy.
Suddenly,
Don't worry about it.
All right.
okay, suddenly a ghostly form of Milhouse. A smiling, grinning head appears and knocks Bart over, laughing like a demon possessed Krusty Clown.
Laughing like a demon possessed Krusty the Clown.
Again,
Forgive me,
that
writer.
is something that has happened more than once in the show.
Well, no, I'm just saying, forgive me, writer, for thinking that that's not very frightening.
Oh, God. As far as I know, the airing of the episode was an accidental fluke, since I've never seen it played again. Or you just made this shit up because you have no friends and you're lonely and the friggin'... No, I'm not gonna say that last part. Oh. You have no friends, you're lonely, and you're about to go full Mo. I'll say that. It must have been a prototype or an early version of Bart Sells His Soul, but obviously it was too morbid and rejected and not considered canon. Canon as in, like, the instrument of war that fires cannonballs. Well, no, I imagine that a TV show was not considered a canon.
Can I also just say that I hate where it's like, oh, this was the first version. Like, when you do realize, idiot creepypasta or lost episode writers, that when that there's like several processes to forming an animated piece, and that when it doesn't make it, it can be halted as soon as storyboards. And if it is animated, it is a very rough animation where there's no color, it's mostly just rough lines. And then it gets cut for a reason.
Super Bowl 50's airing must have been an accidental fluke too. I never saw it air again. Must have been a prototype.
And there's also the fact that I was of the Simpsons office would not approve of this. Because it's not funny. And too short the actual episode.
Yeah, but it does have, unlike the last story, well, the last story has a comment on it now. But this one already had a comment on it from March 15th of 2017 from a fandom user saying, "Gory parodies brought me here." Nobody cares.
I mean, at least the fact that it says gory parodies makes it sound as if that might have been a channel that was taking the piss out of this.
I guess.
I would hope.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Actually, no. I watched it when I was a young kid.
Joy.
Clone Wars Season 7 animatics were some cursed shit. Yeah, they really were. I remember seeing that. Yeah, was that the one where they showed, like, that a bunch of, like, one team of clones had painted, like, a bikini-clad Padme on the side of their ship or something?
My God, there are some real virgins out there.
Yeah, that episode was, or at least that scene was not aired. I just remember, like, Anakin sees it, and he, like, does, like, the thing, like, turns around and, like, walks away, and he's like, well, that's going to change.
Yeah, opinions aside, I would say this story is it's very just average, a solid 5 out of 10. Nothing on problem to it. It's very good, I guess. Very funny. Very spooky. It has Atheist Millhouse.
Atheist Millhouse, his face covered in acne. He's got a beard that looks like he just glued pubes to his face and wearing a trilby.
It's just all on his neck.
Yeah, that was the one. And all the laser electric effects were super half-assed, like PNGs, yeah. But yeah, Anakin, it's like, you're not the only one who finds that woman attractive. Go figure. Alright. But, so, that was special. Yeah, I really got nothing else to say about that. Give it exploding head out of 10. Yeah, that was...
It's like, what really can we say about either of them?
I mean, like, that was in the vein of those Aqua Teen Hunger Force creepypastas that we read, and like Cricket said, like, this is someone who's never actually watched the show before. They looked this up on Wikipedia. These are all things that have happened in the show, mostly in Treehouse of Horror, but it's like Bart and Milhouse getting angry and yelling at each other, and then eventually fighting. No, that's happened many times. It sure was
it's like
creepypasta.
It's as if, and it really is like it. You could just tell that this was probably written by some kid who like assumed that because it was like The Simpsons is a cartoon that it's more for kids, but it's like, and that he probably legitimately thinks that the violence when it's shown in the show is like supposed to be genuinely played for like horror and disturbing. Like, no, we are supposed to laugh when Homer strangles Bart.
Yeah, like they probably watch the Treehouse of Horror specials and think like, oh my god, this is scary! And yes, I have
Oh,
so
no.
little respect for the author, this is how I imagine them talking!
He just sees the Simpsons version of the Raven. Bart never Raven yell. Just smugly says nevermore, and then, like in true Homer fashion, the kid just goes,
They just wanted to write shit based on a popular show to get more attention. Yeah, exactly.
"That
Oh.
really is all it is."
All work and no beer make Mike go something go crazy? Don't mind if I
Be
do.
sober. That's horror enough as it is.
I'll at least give one thing. They are definitely dumps of text.
Yeah.
So I guess they can be called a story in theory.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go make dinner now. So I really feel like making some tacos.
I thought we were gonna DoorDash you Chipotle.
No.
Well then.
No, I have to use this ground beef before it goes bad.
Gotcha.
But glad we got back to hot and cold beans. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you all enjoyed this. And I will be back tomorrow evening with Gemma for a very special stream. And that's all I'm going to say.
So mysterious.
Excitement.
So, and then hopefully next week we can get back to Tuesdays. Because as far as I know, I finally have a Tuesday where I'm not doing anything in the evening. Valuable bandwidth is dedicated to keeping these things on the information superhighway. Tacos are the best. Yes, they are. You can DoorDash Mike Chipotle. Yeah, go ahead. Have a good one, being friends. Catch you later. That was a good one. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, so please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next time.